Okay, let the people come in slowly, no problem. We can start the session. This session is going to be, it's going to, we are going to go through the convolutional neural network. That is one of the advanced neural network that has been. Uh, yeah, if you see if you talk about the agenda of this session, we are going to talk about what is a convolutional operation, and then we are going to move on to the what is the motivation behind the CNN, and what are the layers that is going to be there. We are going to discuss about the three types of layers, and then we are going to talk about the structured outputs and data types that are involved there. And we are going to look at what is the efficient convolutional algorithm that has been present over there. And just a second, I'll minimize this. Yeah. Now, after this, we are going to talk about what are the convolutional neural networks and what are the histories of the deep learning. So now, let's say when we talk about the convolutional networks, are known as convolutional neural networks. They actually, as the name suggests, the backend is going to be the backend is going to have the convolutional process. So we have talked about the convolutional process in the images. I think we have discussed more about that. So you can see that the convolution process is completely related to images, right? So we can say, in a particular period of time, like nearly 5 to 6 years ago, most of the researchers were saying that CNN is for the images and RNN. There is one more thing called RNN, which is recursive neural network. So that is for the text data. So, but the thing is, nowadays it is also changing. So, CNN can also be used for the textual data by using several transformation methods. So CNN is most prominently used for the images. So that's why, since this course is based on the computer vision, so we have taken we have taken convolutional neural network as part of this course. Now, I mean, specialized, the convolutional CNN is specialized for the data having the grid-like topology, like 1D grid or 2D grid. Like 1D grid is nothing but the time series data that we can see. In the stock market prediction itself, I have told you about the time series data itself. So because it is based on the timeline basis, whereas it is also suitable for the two grid data, which is nothing but the image data we can see, right? So those image data can also be used here. So basically, the history behind why these suffer, why the CNN sufficing the 1D grid and 2D grid is based on the operations that is going to, I mean, that is handling on. So convolutional networks use the convolution in place of general matrix multiplication in at least one layer. So which means that instead of having the matrix multiplication, we have talked about in the morning session, we have talked about the x multiplied by the weights w, right? So instead of that matrix kind of multiplication, instead of that, it will be taken place with the convolutional convolutions will be taken place. So we have discussed about the what is a convolution, what is the equations for the convolutions, mathematical background behind that in the past sessions. Neural network convolution does not correspond to the convolution used in engineering and mathematics. So this is kind of this is going to be the neural network based convolution, but we cannot explicitly relate to the engineering or mathematic based convolutions. So, but it has its own impact over there. So convolution is an operation on two functions. Like section begins with the general convolution example, signal smoothing in the locating the spaceship with the laser sensor. So if you say if you say example like this, So I can show you the example how the convolution basically taken place inside the image. So if you say this is going to be the input volume, or let's say input image that you are going to see. So let's say 0, 1 and 2 corresponds to the that corresponds to that corresponds to RGB channel. And if the filter W naught is going to be the first filter, is the first filter that you are going to take place, and this filter W1 is going to be the second filter that you are having, and here you can see the bias is also taken place. So you can see that how the convolution is being processed and how the convolution is being executed. So you can see that when we start from the beginning of the image, like this corner, so you can see that it has been moving with respect to the double-sized window. So this window size basically an important one. So here, according to the filters that you are mentioning here, instead of this filters, we can also have a Sobel filter, or we can also have a Gaussian filter in that cases. So CNN convolutions, not a general convolution, and first function is a network input X, and second is going to be the kernel W. So tensor refers to the multidimensional arrays. Like you can see that you can come across with the word called tensors in the even in the engineering mathematics books. You in many cases you might come across with the tensor analysis. If you see any higher engineering mathematics book like Greywall, or if you see by the B.V. Ramana, so you can see that there are a lot many tensor calculus or has been talked about there. So these tensors are referring to the multidimensional arrays. So for example, input data and the parameter arrays, that's TensorFlow. Exactly. So the convolutional kernel is usually a sparse matrix in contrast to the usually fully connected weight matrix. So it is a very obvious thing that the convolutional kernel that we have seen here, right? W naught and the W1 and the images. So those kernels are nothing but those will be the sparse matrix rather than it is going to be the completely weighted matrix. So then only we can act upon with the then only we can act upon with the images. So if you say the kernel window is going to be like 2 cross 2, and the given input is going to be the 3 cross 4, and first of all it will move on with the first square as it been highlighted. So what happens here is it will be multiplied with the the first element will be multiplied with the first, and second will be second, and third will be third. So if you see AW plus BX plus EY plus FZ. So similarly, what happens here is again this window will be moved to one step, and you can see that BW and this. So this will be moved here. Sorry, this will be moved here. You can see. You can now calculate it. It was going to be the BW plus CX plus FY plus GZ. So similarly, it will be. It will be moved upon here, and you can calculate the CW plus DX plus GY plus HZ. So similarly, it will be moved here, and it will be moved both horizontal as well as in the as well as in the vertical way. So after completing this, you can see that it is going to be the 2 cross 3 matrix, right? So this is one of the thing you'll have to notice. So this is how this is how the actual convolution takes place. So one more thing regarding this convolution and the neural networks, there is a book called there is a book called Deep Learning by Ian Goodfellow. Like yeah, the name of the book is Deep Learning. So the author name is the first author is Ian Goodfellow. So this book is regarded as a Bible of the machine learning, and but this book doesn't contain any of the exercise, or it won't have any. Latest edition. I don't know about the very latest edition, but the in the previous editions at all there is no exercise and stuffs. So here this book give you the complete gist of the neural networks and what is the ANN, CNN, and everything it can give you. So try to have a reading with that book, and mostly that book covers all the mathematical formulas and the mathematics behind the things. So you need to have some of the basics that I have discussed before, right? In the previous session, I have discussed about the neural networks and how the math is being included and how the cross entropy and all we have calculated. So at that occasion, you have to need to know how some basic knowledge about the probability and basic knowledge about the machine learning also. Even that book consists of the introduction to machine learning. Introduction to machine learning chapter also. So by that you can understand what is exactly the what are the exact basics that you need to read that book. So, motivation is nothing but the convolution leverages the three important ideas that help the improving machine learning systems. One is going to be the sparse interactions. Like the first thing in the in the before session we have talked about the fast feed forward neural network where the W naught and the weight matrix is tightly coupled with the input vectors, right? So whatever the layer it may be, whatever the layer it may be, the weight vector will be tightly coupled. Like each and every element will be multiplied with the weight vector, whereas here it is not necessary that it should be the case. Here we are talking about only the sparse interaction and parameter sharing, and the parameter sharing, it will reduce a lot many parameters. We'll look into it. And equivariant representations, like equivariant in the sense like you will have different you will have the different kind of representation for different operations. We'll talk about that too. It is indirectly representing the three layers that are available in the CNN, the convolutional neural network. So now, so we'll talk one by one. One is going to be the sparse connectivity, the sparse interaction. So here the fully connected traditional networks, like M input layer in this and N output layer. So it requires big O of M cross N, which means that like if you see here, I have told you that the one input layer or the one neuron will be connected with all other neurons in the upcoming layer. This is what the complete connectivity is talking about. Whereas in the sparse connectivity, you can see that this x1 is not connected to the x4, this x2 is not connected to the x5. So similarly the case. So I mean, so you can identify that what does the sparse connectivity really means. So okay, in this case, I just add one more point that one more point that if you have a m nodes and if you have a m inputs in the layer and you have n outputs, like here you have a three uh, yeah, you have a let's say. Okay, let's say in this node, if you consider this is going to be the m inputs in a layer. Like for this input, you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 inputs are there, and you have 5 outputs are there. Which should be like 5 cross 5, 25 things has to be calculated. So if you talk about the simple layer like this, it will be very easy. If you talk about a neuron with the dimensions of, with the layer with the dimension of or width of maybe 100 or 115 layers, then it will become a mess or it will become a troublesome. So for those purpose only, for running those kind of for running those kind of algorithms, we are sorting we are I mean we are getting the help from the GPU, graphics processor unit. So for implementing the neural networks, we obviously need the help of the GPUs. And sparse interaction, also called as sparse connectivity or sparse weights, accomplished by making the kernel smaller than the inputs. So which means that like kernel's weight will be very decreased, and k will be less than or equal to less than much less than m, requires big O of k cross n runtime. Okay, it is not n actually, it is m runtime. So now k is typically the orders of the magnitude smaller orders of the magnitude which is smaller than m. So here you can see the sparse connectivity and how it will be uh, yeah, how it has been connected and how it is loosely packed with in between the in between the layers. So this is because of the this coupling is has happened because of the small convolutional kernel. If we increase the size of the convolutional kernel, then the height of the packing, I mean the connectivity also will be increased. So this is completely dependent on the kernel that you are going to use. So here, this is nothing but okay. You can see that it is a receptive fields here, right? So growing receptive fields, which means that it will be growing like layer by layer and layer by layer. So here you can see that like inputs are connected in the similar way, and it can be traversed to the upcoming layers. So then next thing we are going to talk about is the parameter sharing. So in traditional neural networks, in traditional neural network, each element of the weight matrix is unique. So here the thing is, we have talked about the weight matrix, the W matrix, right? So in those elements, the elements will be very unique if you consider about the traditional neural networks. Whereas here we are going to share the parameters. Like so, single window, you can see that the single W naught will be acted on for the W. I mean this first particular image, and W naught for the first dimension will be used for the first one. So you can see that one matrix itself enough for nearly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cross 8 matrix. Sorry, it is going to be, yeah, it is 7 cross 7 matrix. So six. I mean the compound of 6 elements itself. It is fine for having the 49 elements. So we have to consider that too. So parameter has been shared over there means more than one model function. Okay? And these network has tied weights. Tied weights in the sense like we have talked about the multiplication process before with respect to the convolution, right? It talks about that. So reduces the storage requirements for to k parameters and does not affect the forward propagation with runtime of k cross n. So this is with respect to the runtime. We are concentrating on the models. We will talk about time permits. So parameter sharing is like convolution shares the same parameter across all spatial locations. Like as I have told already, you can see that the W naught itself is being shared with respect to the all the matrix. I mean throughout the matrix that has been available here, which is nothing but 7 cross 7. Here it is 3 cross 3. Simple 3 cross 3 will be used for the entire whole 7 cross 7. That's why it has been shared. It has been said as a it has been spread as spatial. Same parameter across all the spatial locations. And one more thing you need to identify here, that is in the traditional neural networks like this, as we have seen in the morning session, you can see that the W will be and W will be very. It will be varying one. So if you see in the previous examples like exclusive OR, so for connecting the input layer to the hidden layer, we have used capital W, and after that we have used a small w. So for the small neural network itself, we have used two kinds of weights. So even that too with the different dimensions. So the capital W will be with the 2 cross 2, and small w will be in the 2 cross 1. So the dimension is also the does matter there. So what happens there, it has been like for each and every layer it has become a mandatory to have another set of weights, and you have to be stored there, and that also creates a new issue. So edge detection algorithm, just forget about this. This is a normal arrow mark. So it has been like corrupted here, so don't worry about this. The kernel, if you use the kernel 1 for on this image, on this input, we will get the edge detection. So okay, so using the normal kernel, and using the minimum kernel of size 2, and using the input image itself, we can get the edge detection algorithm. Like instead of having the Sobel, or instead of having the corner edge detection algorithm, something like that, by using the kernel -1 and 1 itself, we can get the complete edge of the edge in the image. So you can even more see that it is also reducing the noise also. It is completely eradicating the noise also. We have to we have to take a much care about that. And even you can see the variations in the edges also. So the most prominent or most visible edges, like the curves of the here you can see the curves are also much more visible than the normal Sobel filter is. So Sobel filter shows is. So here you can see even the bells, or even the hair is also been displayed wisely over here. So you can see that much minute things also noticed by the convolutional kernel. So if it is going to be, the input size is going to be the 320 by 280 matrix. Okay, if it is going to be the 320 cross 280 input size or the input image, and kernel, if you are using the 2 cross 1, these output size is also going to be the same, because we know that it is going to be the edge detection algorithm. So you have to you have to I mean the conditions and and the number of operations will be following this table. Like you need to stored floats is going to be the two floats will be stored, which is nothing but we have seen. And this is going to be the number of calculations that has been done in the CNN, and this is going to be the sparse matrix size, and the calculations for that. And here the float, mulls and adds for the forward computations, and you can see the computations that are being done. Number of computations being done there. So third thing is nothing but the equivariant representation for the invariant functions. If the input changes, the output change in the same way. So invariance. In many functions, you can see that if the input changes, the output change in the same way. For convolution, a particular form of parameter sharing causes the equivariance to the translation. So you have to think about in the sense that you are going to share the parameters, so it will lead to the other process also. So in image processing, detecting the edge is useful in the first layer, and edge appears more or less everywhere in the image. So now when you are setting any when you are going to design the neural network, if you are doing it for any image, or if you are going to do it for any let's say for any text, you have to write down the number of steps that you have to do. Let's say we are going to take object detection in the concern. The first thing what we have to do is we have to make the we have to make the edge detection at the first step. So what we will do, we will add a one more layer or one more hidden layer there, and with the kernel size of, as we have mentioned, -1 and 1, in order to find the edges. So you can see that you can see the for each and everything, like edge detection, and then we have to transform it, or we have to histogram equalization. So many things will be done using the neural network itself. So for that purposes, you have to design it in the proper way. So the neural network design itself has needs a wide range of knowledge for image processing. So using that image processing systems and using that image processing steps only, you can conclude with your own variety of neural networks. You have to know why the layer has to be there, or what are why it should be added, and what it will make in the image. So these kind of stuff you have to understand. So if you see a image like so if you see image, like first thing we have used the convolution layer, second thing we have used the ReLU layer. We'll talk about what are the ReLU pool layer and everything and all. Like I'm saying, why we need convolution followed by the ReLU, followed by the convolution, followed by the ReLU, and followed by pool. Why we don't need the pool layer at the first or at the second? Why do we need a convolution, alternate layers of convolution and ReLU? So these are all many questions, and you have to find you can get the answer only when you know the image processing as well as the neural network design. So there is one more thing called pooling. There is it is also coming under the types of layers. The pooling function replaces the output of a net at a certain location with a summary of the statistics of the nearby outputs. So which means that the pooling function actually what this pooling function do is systematically speaking it will reduce the size of the image, or it will reduce the it will reduce the dimension of the images. Spatial dimension will be reduced. So this is one of the important aspect we have to look it upon with respect to the pooling. And we have max pooling and average pooling with us. The max pooling is nothing but reports the maximum output within the rectangular neighborhood. So which means that if you consider let's say Hmm. If you consider the first, or not like this. Yeah, if you say you are going to apply the pooling layer here, let's say this is going to be the window or kernel that you are going to apply. Let's say this is going to be the considered one, A, B, E, F, right? We have four layers, I mean four components, right? Among this, which is going to be the max, will be selected by the max pooling technique, whereas if it is going to be the average pooling, obviously it will take the average output. So pooling helps my representation approximately invariant to the small input translations. Like it is I mean we have talked about this a bit more earlier. Actually, we have talked when we are talking about the point operators and the point pixels and the key points and all. We have been talking about this. There will be a slight change or slight change of a twist of the objects, and so on. So stuffs we have displayed, like when we are considering the ball, what happens when it has been small size, or what happens when it is scaled up. Like we have talked about the scale invariance also. Those stuffs can be usually managed by the pooling layers. So since it has been reduction technique, or spatially reduction technique, the scaling and everything will be nullified over this step. So convolutional network components will be defined in two ways, like in the either of the books. I mean, in many books they are representing in the two ways actually. So the first thing is so the first thing is they are like this is I mean these are just terminologies. We are not making that much complicated here. The thing you have to identify is input to layers. I mean input layer, and above that you will have the convolutional stage, and then you will have a detector stage, and then you will have a pooling stage. So now if you are using the convolutional stage, and then you are going to use the detector stage, so which means that non-linearity. So non-linear detectors like rectified, I mean, ReLU, modified ReLUs, and those kind of things can be used over there in order to find the find the any changes or alterations in those images. So this is the pooling state. You can see the max Boolean and invariance to the translation. So here, if you see the I mean, there is no much more to talk about this pooling layer. Just you can make it in the sense that we have to add the pooling layer in order for finding the scaling invariance and so on so stuff. So the cross channel pooling and the inverse invariance to learn the transformations. Like if you talk about five. Okay, if you want to recognize the handwritten images using the CNN, then you have to consider this also. So the file can be rotated in any ways, and you have to recognize that also. So this is how happened in the I mean neural network. If you say larger response in the detector unit 3, and you can say here larger response in the unit 1, so which means that large response in the pooling unit. So we have to like this is something related to the cross channel pooling. Okay, so like we are going to I mean we are going to give priority, or we are going to different I mean we are going to have a different feature maps, and then we are going to give priority to that. So pooling with downsampling, So this is not needed as for now. We will talk about in the future cases, like tomorrow's afternoon session is where we are going to handle this stuff, so we'll talk about that day. So this is one of the sample classification architecture. You can see that the image, the dimension of the image is considered as 256 cross 256 cross 3, which means that 256 rows and 256 columns and three-dimensional images. So so next step we are going to talk about, we will be having is convolutional plus ReLU. So we have talked about that convolutional plus ReLU, right? So after that we will have the pooling layer. So what happens exactly here is, here the input image that has been collectively there. So the first process you are going to maximize it, let's say. Okay, here you can see that the dimension is also been increased to 56 cross 256 cross 64, and then the convolutional operations and the ReLU active, I mean ReLU functions also completely applied, and then you are going for the pooling layer. So pooling layer, I have told you that yeah, we have I mean we have talking about that, like it is going to reduce, or it is going to be like spatial contraction will be there. So the pooling layer will help you at that position. So again, after getting the pooling layer, here we are having strides, right? In which ratio we have to make it happen, like whether we have to consider the 4 cross 4 kernel, or we are going to yeah for I mean whether which size of the kernel we are going to refer to, and size of the pooling layer, and everything will be done there. So after that you can see that the 256 cross 256 cross 64 has been reduced to 64 cross 64 cross 64, and then again pooling layer, again the again if we need to reduce further, okay, we can go for, or else we don't need. The output of the reshape of the vector is going to be the 16384, which is nothing but the multiplication constant, and then we will have the this is for reshaping, and then we will have normal matrix multiplication. After that we will have 1000 classes probabilities. Okay, this is going to be the output of the, I mean this is going to be the output of softmax. Whereas here you can see that there are various types of neural network architecture for the classification itself. The first one I have explained. If you see the second one, you can see the change at the here. So it has been further reduced, so that it will be getting I mean it will be getting the vector of 576 units, and then so output of the matrix multiplication, you will get the 1000 units, and then you will get the 1000 probabilities. So you are the thing is, it is completely your design, and you are going to make it happen. So considering the several factors, considering the image processing technique also, you are going to add the layers and so on. So here you can see that in this layer you can see uh, yeah, here you can see the, sorry, you can see the images like 16 cross 16 cross 1000 is going to be the output of the convolution. So then it will be processed further. So then we will get into the average pooling. So average pooling, we will get the 16 stride is going to be set as 16, and then it will be made as 1 cross 1 cross 1000. So and then we'll going to use the softmax in order to get the outputs. I mean, in order to get the outputs. So for this CNN, if you consider, we will use this for many occasions. We have just I have just shrink the rotations. It will be something like as I have shown in the image I have shown, right? So it will be something looking like this kind of layers. So for the image processing, I mean for fingerprint classification systems, for the other shapes and other, I mean other classification systems like Google, not Google Net, yeah, other image classification system classifiers will use these kind of structure. So choosing which is going to be the optimal one is going to be your choice, depending upon the accuracy that has been shown by the neural networks. You can take the choice. So the convolutional unpooling as a infinite strong prior. So the prior probabilities, I think we have discussed about the prior probabilities in the, I mean, the prior probabilities we have discussed about prior posterior probability and likelihood in the previous sessions, like in the introduction to ML session I have talked about the prior probability. So the prior probability can be a strong or weak uh, because the prior probabilities, as we have discussed in that session itself, it is going to be taken prior to the experience prior to the experiment actually. So that's why it can be either strong or weak. So what happens if you have a weak prior? So weak prior allows the data to move the parameters like Gaussian distribution with a high variance. Whereas if the strong prior is there, then it will be the Gaussian distribution with low variance. It will strongly determines the parameter. So the strong prior will not be an issue. Whereas if you have a weak prior, then it will become an issue. So that's why we are saying that convolution and pooling layer will give you the infinitely strong prior. So convolutional net is an infinitely strong prior. So we know that using the strong prior probability will help the prediction process as well as the machine learning process. Very good advantage. So weights are zero except in the small receptive fields. Weights identical for neighboring hidden units. So convolution and pooling can cause underfitting also in some cases. The prior is useful only when the assumptions made by the prior are reasonably accurate. So if a task relies on preserving the precise spatial formation informations, then pooling can increase the training error. Like if as we have told already, if we have any point operators or point operations, point features, then it will become a problem over here. When you use the pooling layer, it will be suppressed. So that has to be taken into consideration. So the prior imposed by the convolution must be appropriate. Variation of the basic convolutional functions. The stride is nothing. Stride is the amount of downsampling. So we have talked about the stride in the picture, right? So this is the same thing. The stride is nothing but the amount of downsampling. So if you are saying 4, it is going to be downsampled by the factor 4. So can have the separate strides in the different directions. And second thing we have to give an important to is zero padding. So zero padding is nothing but to layer shrinking will be avoided. So that's why we are using the zero padding. And unshared convolutions, like convolutions but without sharing. We have talked about the parameter sharing also, right? So without that also we can have a convolution. So parameter connectivity between the partial connectivity between the channels, that is a key point, and tiled convolution cycle between the shared parametric groups. Like we will have a tile conditions, like if you have two set of matrix and that can be used as a, I mean, used as a shared parameter, like a one row for this and another row for this, and those kind of stuff will be done handled there. So convolution with the strides of two. Yeah, here you can see that the strides of two, it has been connected to the two upcoming layers and so on, so stuff equivalent to above but computationally wasteful. So so this is nothing but intermediate representation. After doing the convolution, just it has been connected to the S1, S2, S3. So which is the thing here you have to identify that there will be not an link between the Z2 and S1 and Z2 and S2. So this is somewhat equivalent, but it is computationally wasteful. And zero padding controls the size, as we have discussed. The kernel width is equal to 6 here. So so you can see that zero padding controls the size. If you use just, you are going to map it to the those six neurons will be mapped to the one neuron. So then it will become the 6 will be convolved to, I mean, this will be shrink to one dimension. the 6 will be converted to 1, right? So those kind of stuff will take place here. So here here you can see that it has been done without zero padding. So whereas if you add the zeros, it is just an adjustment factor that we can think of. Okay, so now, and kinds of connectivity: the full layer connectivity and the connection convolution connectivity, local connection like convolution, but not sharing. Okay. So here it is going to be this. It is there will be a no sharing or unshared convolution. Like each and every way it will be different. Whereas here you can see that this is also A, this is B, and here also the same parameters will be repeated for everywhere, and they can use that. So this is going to be the fully connected. So we have so from the starting we are seeing the convolution with the shared parameters. This is one of the thing that we have convolution without sharing parameters. And partial connectivity is nothing but having a partial. I mean, each output channel is a function of only the subset of the input channels. Like here, if you say one channel is there, then this output is going to be from the current channel alone. I mean, from the selected channel alone. It won't relate it to it anyhow. It is not unrelated to the other channels that are available. So this is one of the thing, partial connectivity between the channels. And then we are going to talk about the tiled convolution. So if you say the local connection and tile convolution, and then we can see. Okay. Uh, okay. Okay, I'll share the image. I'll share the correct image related to this. Just get messed up because of the. I just made this PPT in the previous version, 2007 version. Then because of the version drawback, it has been displayed like this. Okay. Right, tile convolution, and then we have the standard convolution process. The standard convolution process, as we have think before that. As we have seen before that. Here. Okay, no problem. We can come to that. Right now, structured outputs. The convolutional neural networks are usually, used for the classification, and they can also be used to output a high dimensional and structured object. This object is typically a tensor. So the data types, single channel examples we can use is one audio waveform and 2D audio data after frequency transform, like in the domain of frequency versus time. So, and then we can go for the multi-channel examples like 2D color image data and three channels like red, RGB, and each channel is the 2D of the for 2D for the image. Like we can see that using the red pixel itself, we can have we can have an image. So that is what been represented here. This is going to be the red channel, and this is going to be the green channel, and this is going to be the green channel. Red, blue, and green. So this is how the multi-channel operations will be taken place. And next thing is efficient convolutional algorithms, like devising the faster ways of performing the convolution or approximate the convolution without harming the accuracy of the model is an active area of research. So like here you might have come across with two topics like uh, so you might have come across the topic like fast Fourier transformations. So Fourier transform is one of the technique, and you can have the fast Fourier transform also. So that is going to be the another easiest technique. So like performing the convolution, we have to use the element-wise operations, right? For those stuffs, for those convolution operations, you can use some I mean, some other models are, so you can come up with some other techniques in order to perform the convolution in a better way. So even that is the active research area. And apart from that, okay, apart from that, yeah, there is one more research area with respect to the convolutional network. Also, we'll talk about in the next session with respect to that. And however, the most dissertation work concerns the feasibility and not efficiency. So. So it is feasible and it is not efficient. Normal things. Random or unsupervised features. One way to reduce the cost of the convolutional neural training is to use the features that are trained in the supervised fashion. So unsupervised algorithm, obviously it will take it will take the higher convolutional rate and then it will become a mess one. So for that we'll use the supervised fashion, and there are three methods for that. Simply initialize the convolutional kernel randomly, design them by hand, or learn the kernels using the unsupervised methods. Okay, so here the thing is, here the unsupervised methods that we are mentioning is there are different types of unsupervised algorithms to determine those kernels. So we'll talk it one by one in the upcoming sessions. So the neuroscientific basis for convolutional neural networks. So convolutional neural networks may be the greatest success story for the biological inspired AI. So the since we have, I mean, from our side also, from my side also, we have employed the CNN for detecting the features of for classifying the fingerprints. We have discussed about the fingerprint classification system for diabetes prediction, right? So in that case, for analyzing the fingerprint, we have employed the CNN also. It will have nearly 15 layers of connections. So different. I mean, it will be mixed up with the convolution layer and followed by the ReLU and followed by the pooling layer also. So as I have shown already, it will be kind of interchangeable. I mean, it will be kind of the layer by layer things. So convolutional, I mean, in the many even I can see some of the papers from research papers with respect to the healthcare sector, like even I can share you some one story related to the biological inspired AI. That is a recent one for the COVID-19. Using the X-ray image itself, we can get the clarification that the person, whether he is having COVID-19 or not. So that is because of this convolution layers. So apart from this CNN based networks, we do have ANN. Apart from this, we do have residual networks like ResNet. We call it as ResNet. We have call it as GoogleNet, and so on. So structures are there. So we have to, like, as a first step, you can start with the we can start with the FFN, and then followed by that you can follow the convolutional neural network. So, how you can identify and how you can, I mean, how you can identify and how you can structureize this is by using the principles, or by identifying or getting clarified in the principles of the different kinds of layer. In the CNN, I think you have noticed that we have used the convolution layer. Another one is going to be the detecting layer. Another one is going to be the pooling layer. So these three kinds of layers we have used, and most probably that is going to be the ReLU layer. So understanding those kinds and understanding the impact on the impact on the images, you can get a clear picture about that. So so this is going to be some of the key design principles of the neural networks were drawn from the neuroscience. And so this is going on. So the thing is, here I mean, here the data scientist, the neuroscientist has come across with a new schema, new neural network that is related to the cat's visual system, like how the cat is going to visualize the objects, and using that they have come across with the CNN framework or neural network. So you can even track from that perspective also, like even you might have noticed that the cat has a sharp eye. So for that purpose they have used the cat, and they have constructed from the base, I mean, They have just matched the layers that are available and the characteristic of the cat's visual system with respect to the CNN. So neurons in the retina perform the simple processing, does not change the image interpretation. So we know that in the retina we do have in the retina. I mean the retina does just gives a simple processing and does not give any change to the images that we saw. Image pass through the optic nerve to a brain cell called lateral geniculate body. So this is a biological term you can identify from many source books like lateral geniculate body. And next thing is signal then reaches the visual cortex area V1. V1 is also called as primary visual cortex, and where it is responsible for the seeing and everything. I mean, for our for our visual purpose also. The first area of the brain that performs advanced processing for the visual inputs. So located at the back end of the head. So why you need to understand the biological perspective of the biological perspective of the our visual system is, so everything that you see like from the birds or from the eagle, or you can say from the from the birds, just generally saying and stuff, from the birds itself, Wright brothers has come across with the aeroplane. So similarly we can come across with from the surroundings and from the nature only we can come across with the efficient one. The one thing you should not forget here is we are going to mimic our brain. So you are going to mimic the human brain, which is nothing but the biological matter that we are going to do, that we are facing on. The first area of the brain that performs the advanced processing unit for the visual input, so located at the back end of the head. V1 properties captured in the neural convolutional nets. V1 has 2D structure mirroring the retina image. V1 contains many simple cells as well as the complex cells also. So now, the simple cells, what they will do is each characterized by the linear function of an image in a small and spatially localized receptive fields. Okay, so whereas in the complex cells, these cells respond to the features similar to the simple cells but invariant to the small shifts in the position of the features. Inspired pooling strategies such as max out units. So complex cell, you can see that those features are similar to the features, similar to the layers that we have come across with the convolutional neural network. So now, although we know about area V1, we believe similar principles apply to other areas. Basic strategy of detection followed by the pooling. So as I have told already, whenever we detected, and then we will use the pooling layer. So that's why we have used that. So in some cases, what they will do is they will do double detection layer, like as I have shown in the figure. So you can see. A convolution layer, after the detection layer, which is nothing but ReLU, then again convolution, again ReLU, then only we will have the pooling layer. So this has been like sequence throughout the network, and then they will come across with the classification for the given image. So we can see the passing through the deeper layers, we find cells responding to the specific contents. Like these cells are nicknamed as grandmother cells, and the idea being that a neuron activates upon seeing their grandmother anywhere in the image. Like each which means which is something similar to this kind of example, like if you are searching for a book, or if you're, let's say you are searching for a ball inside a clumsy or messy room. So in that scenario, what you will do, you will just skim through the you will just skim through the through the room, and then you can identify where the ball is. You are not just simply processing by you're not this is not, that is not going to be your first vision of the room. So in that case, the shape of the ball will be correctly captured, and you can identify that. So that is what these layers are doing there. So the grandmother cells are responsible for that. So that's why the idea being that a neuron activates upon seeing their grandmother where in the image, anywhere in the image. So now the neuroscientific basis for the convolutional network, the reverse correlation. The biological networks we didn't have to access to the weight themselves. However, we can put an electrode in the neuron, display the image in front of the animal's retina, and record the activation of the neurons. So we can fit the linear model to these response to approximate the neurons weight. So it is like they are deriving the neuron structures and the activation of the neurons from the from by artificially simulating those things. So most V1 cells have the weights of the Gabor function. So Gabor function we have discussed about many. A long time before also we have discussed about the Gabor function. So you can see that when you are pixel by pixel, if you separate the pixel by pixel, then if you use the if you use the Gabor function, it will something look like this. And even we have implemented the Gabor. Yeah, we have implemented the Gabor function in the Python, and even the Gabor like learn the kernel. So we are going to mimic as we have said. So it is going to learn. We are going to mimic the Gabor kernels and the result of the Gabor kernels also. And it has the convolutional neural networks has its own deep history. So if time permits, I'll ask you to go for the Ian Goodfellow book, and you can read out there. You can see lot many applications. Even you can see the where from where which point it has been arrived. The convolutional neural networks has been arrived. So you can find those things also. So here mainly if you talk about, it is going to rely on it is dependent on the application of the neural science to the machine learning, and the first deep models to perform well. So this is one of the first deep model to perform well. Actually, yeah, it is true. Many deep models before this arrival of the CNN has failed in a lot many cases. There were a lot many failures also there. So the first important commercial application used to win many contests. Some of the first deep neural networks trained with back propagation. So the back propagation is one of the important technique. Since there is no time to discuss about that, we can discuss, but it is most important technique, and that relies on the partial differentiation and partial differential equation, not mainly on PDE. It is related to the partial differentiation actually, and performed well decades ago and paved the way towards the acceptance of the neural networks in general. So the convolutional neural networks allow the specialized neural networks for grid structure topology. So this is why we are because of this point only we are going for the images. Like CNN was set as it will suit for images very well. Even now also it is suiting for the images very well. So 1D sequential data we use recurrent networks. So like as we have told already, we do have two types of, generally, the most famous perspective we have two things. One is RNN, another one is this CNN. So recursive network is nothing but that RNN actually. Okay. So we have discussed about the convolutional neural network and how it has been done, and what is the background behind that, and how the exact process that has been happening there. So apart from this, we have to. We can have a look ahead with the artificial neural networks and so on so stuff. So let's see in the upcoming session. We'll see. We'll try to make it happen. And again, you don't need to forget about this convolutional neural network. As the name suggests, that is going to be the convolution is going to be the backend, and this is suitable for the images. And second, even in the CNNs nowadays, CNN is also used for browsing the textual data also. So have a concentration on the CNN and just have a look ahead with the books like Deep Learning by Ian Goodfellow and another several books written by the Stanford professors has a greater impact in the industry also. Even we are referring those books as a Bible. Okay, so for giving any corporate trainings. for any or any training the student for inside the computer vision based industries like 1 month course or 1 month 1 month training sessions. If we do like that, we often refer to that. Okay, so just have a look at it, and even I will post some of the details regarding the convolutional neural network in the classroom so that you can have a look on it. Okay, so well, boys, we'll stop here, and we will have a discussion about the Google Net architecture by 3:15. Okay, we will meet at 3:15. We'll meet at 3:15, not 3:30. So today we are just going to prepone the meet that we will meet at 3:15. Just have a half an hour break, and we shall meet again.